Welcome to Flesh and Pod, a flesh and blood podcast, breaking down weekly news and notes from the tournament scene, community drama, game strategy, and more. And now, here are your hosts, Derek and Logan.
Hello and welcome to episode 108 of Flesh and Pod. I am Logan. I am your host for 108 weeks in a row, and a special happy anniversary to my co-host in a onesie, a Twitch onesie nonetheless, Derek Oswald. Derek, do you realize this is your 52nd episode in a row of Flesh and Pod?
That can't be right.
I went and dug into the archives. Episode 56. So technically, episode 57 was your first episode just with me, but you were on the episode prior to that with the last episode with Abby and Jordan. So
I feel like I had to take a week off somewhere in between.
I guess you did take one off in Barcelona.
Yeah.
So this is your 1 year, basically your 1 year anniversary of doing this show with me, though.
Right.
And you haven't quit yet. Do you have any major announcement to tell me that you're doing that, or would you have done that in private?
Why do you think I wore the Twitch onesie?
Oh, because you're employed by Twitch now.
No.
Oh.
But
oh, well, there's that.
It was just because it's just one zip before I'm able to easily fuck you by telling you the bad news.
By telling? No, you're right. It would just be the one zip.
The only reason this onesie is even a thing is because Logan, when I sat down, said, "Oh, you have a Twitch hoodie. That's nice." And I said, "How dare you, sir? This is not a hoodie." And he said, "Huh?" So I had
to stand up,
show him. Yeah.
Gave me the 360.
Show him what's up.
Yeah, he did. He showed me what's up. All right. There hasn't been. So there's been news. That's for sure. No events.
Yeah, I think that this was kind of expected, though, right? We're hitting that point of the year where for this week and honestly the next week as well, I don't expect really much in the way of events or what I would describe as new news. But
spoilers, though.
Spoilers did come out, so we do have that. I don't think we're going to get news also, because if I'm being honest, LSS really outdid themselves before they went on break, and they dropped a lot of updates all pertaining to next year. So if they had more in the bag that they were trying to rapid fire through the holidays, then I don't know if I could handle that, to be honest.
Yeah, they kind of dropped a lot on us in one shot, and we covered it. We did it. We did what we were supposed to do. But now we are in the thick of heavy hitter spoiler season, and we got some biggins, one might say, this week, and none bigger, none better, none more powerful than our girl Betsy, sir. Betsy is a house. So young and adult. I guess we never talked about what we did in Flesh and Blood. Did we do anything in Flesh and Blood? Did you do anything in Flesh and Blood?
I barely existed in my actual Flesh and Blood, let alone did anything in Flesh and Blood. This is, of course, the holiday season, which means that almost all of my free time has went toward, wife, children, family, etc. No, I did not. I have not played games. The only games I played, I have played a couple of games with Stark on Fortnite because he's on winter break, and that's what you do. You spend time with your kids and whatever. But no, I haven't done anything for myself in weeks.
Fair. I played Armory on both Thursday and Saturday. There wasn't much to talk about in either. One was Living Legend. I tried to revamp Starvo after the restrictions. Did not feel near as good, which I think is the point. And then also played WTR Draft, which is always a blast. Drafted Katsu. Deck felt fine. I've been playing super loose lately. I really need to just stop that and just treat matches like they should be treated instead of playing super loose. But I'm killing time until Kasai is legal. I think we all know that.
Yeah.
So I'm not putting a whole lot of effort into building things until I've got, the bigger pool to work with or the full pool to work with. I figure there'll be a lot of boots on the ground testing in Hartford. But we got a lot of boots and a lot of ground in the spoilers, and we're going to come back to our girl Betsy, because it looks like we have a wager centric hero for every class is what it's going to look like to me. And this is our wager guardian. Again, just your standard 420, 440 heroes.
Mm-hmm.
Her text, and there is text involved, is whenever an attack you control wagers, you may pay 2 resources. If you do, the attack gets +1 and overpower. It can't be defended by more than one action card. Now, a couple of quick things with this. It doesn't say attack action card. It says attack.
Correct.
And we already knew that we have cards that add wager to
weapon attacks.
To weapon attacks or any attack, really.
Right.
So you can just make wager attacks. She looks powerful.
She looks very powerful for a couple of reasons. Now, I think the obvious comparison that everyone is going to make is Bravo, right? Because you see the 2 red discs, as
Bonk.
Flake likes to say, right? Borvo and his 2 red discs. So here we see the same thing. Now, Bravo is interesting because even though it comes up not super often, it does occasionally become relevant. When you activate him, it's for all of your attacks for the turn. So if you play Rouse the Ancients into another attack, for example, then both of those would get the dominate effect. Betsy here is you have to pay per attack, right, for that activation. The other obvious thing is that Bravo works with potentially a larger suite of attacks because it's just based on cost as opposed to something like an actual keyword or mechanic, whereas wager, granted, with cards that can grant wager to other things, right? You could use Betsy theoretically to slap wager on a Command and Conquer someday, and that'll be really, really fun, but you still have to have that wager part. However, the reason that Betsy really jumps out to me is the +1 that Bravo does not get, she gets, and that's very helpful for certain breakpoints. But also, it's when an attack you control wagers, you may pay 2. So it is not a pre-activation. And the reason that is relevant, if you've ever played Bravo, is cards like Arc-like Sentinel or anything that's going to trigger at the start of your action phase, they give your opponent an opportunity to establish priority and then react to you. Theoretically, if you just start your action phase with I'm playing an attack, and if that attack has wager, then you can also activate this. There's no opportunity for your opponent to respond to you putting that on the chain link right out of the get-go. So that is potentially a place where Betsy will shine, and it's going to feel very, very good into certain heroes where, old Bravo Showstopper used to sometimes struggle if they had some sort of response or a way to make you pay tax. Like, it's actually kind of funny that we're getting Betsy now after some of the ice heroes have rotated, because she would have been a great hero to exploit the lack of that gap, right?
Right.
I really dig her design, both flavor-wise, character-wise, but also just what they've done with her, because it feels like the way I like to play Guardian. Guardian goes one of 2 ways. You're either the hyper defensive, like Oldhim style, or you can be aggressive. Normally, when I play Showstopper, you know me, I like to swing big.
Pommel,
Betsy,
discard. Yeah.
Betsy is going to, I think, be kind of the personification of that play style, and I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah, I've noticed. So that's kind of the first thing, is we were having some discussions with, around this card when it came out, and it was initially like, okay, well, this is really cool. And then it was this weapons. Right. So this could be a E-strike into thing, into thing that creates wager on the weapon. The weapon itself might wager. We don't know. But
yeah, if we have a weapon that has like a wager somehow built in, then I cannot wait for the, like, you pitch your entire hand, but you get to tear asunder, swing with whatever her wagering weapon is, because then it's going to have dominate, overpower, and the on hit. And I know that dominate plus overpower can feel a bit like overkill, but it's still just really, really satisfying. It's probably mechanically the wrong thing to do 9 times out of 10, but it doesn't make it any less fun. And sometimes you just need something fun to do.
So dominate plus overpower could be super important because it limits block cards, which I think we're going to start seeing again as we see more overpower.
Yeah.
Because if you dominate it, it's going to be you get the block card and that's it, or you get whatever you want to block with and that's it. And choose wisely, because ain't going to be great otherwise. So yeah, for me, this is, I think, an interesting way to take Guardian. It makes me believe that the other Guardian is probably hyper defensive, or at least more defensive. But again, that's just, or I guess potentially more combo oriented, kind of like Kasai is, versus wager oriented. But your mileage may vary. We don't know. But defensive is what kind of strikes me. Speaking of strikes me, the one thing that I noticed immediately upon looking at Betsy was the frame is so much cooler for her version of Guardian for whatever reason.
Well, because she's from the pits.
The
arena.
Deathmatch arena.
Yeah, the arena. Excuse me. I when I think of it as the pits, I think of the deathmatch pits, but it's the arena. And you can tell because it's the same frame that's on somebody who's not the same class as her,
right?
Essentially as the same region, and obviously we'll cover that in a moment. One other thing I'd like to say is, from a speculation standpoint, I know that for the warrior class, we have both of those heroes revealed, and both of them got a young and an old treatment. So I don't feel like this is going to be a set like Outsiders where we have only young 6 heroes, but a couple of slots that are only young with some revisiting. That being said, because we are also getting Kasai, and she was traditionally, not just young Kasai. It wasn't just Kasai and then the old version, etc. I do think that there is still room or the realm of some sort of possibility for us to get Valda being the other Guardian hero, because young Valda is not truly just young Valda. It's Valda Brightaxe. And her original game text worked in conjunction with your opponent drawing cards during their action phase. We're going into a set where there's a lot of gold token generation, and that draws you cards, etc. So I could totally see if they want to redesign Valda but kind of keep her with the same feel or flavor, they could either do something with again, cards being drawn, or even just gold tokens being generated, where if they generate gold tokens on their turn, she creates seismic surges or something silly like that. And then I could see her being that more defensive side that you were talking about, because Valda, the existing one, obviously she starts with more health than any other young hero. So she's already kind of defensive from that standpoint, but also her mechanic is one that you're kind of waiting for your opponent to do something before you really get any benefit from it. So I could see her being the quote unquote passive guardian of this set, but just in a different, look or feel. Obviously we don't know, it's entirely speculation. So again, just repeating that, I don't have any inside info or anything, but I think that would be really, really cool if that was the way that they tackled the other side of the Guardian playstyle. No,
I agree. I think that there is some information that can be gleaned with Kasai existing. Kasai of the Golden Sand seems more traditional warrior in a sense, whereas Olympia, who we'll get to shortly, doesn't. But let's not close out Betsy quite yet, because we got to talk about the Betsy specialization.
Yeah.
And, oh, fuck me. Because I read Betsy. I'm like, that's dope. Then I read the Betsy specialization. Went, shit. Well, both teams played hard, I guess. Fuck. Because Betsy's specialization is called Bet Big. Now, Betsy's backstory is awesome. She just likes to crush shit, get paid, gamble it all, and get hammered.
Yep. When I saw this reveal, I was like, I cannot wait for the gender bent Betsy cosplay done by a friend of mine, Logan Peterson. I think he's going to crush it.
Yeah, I could definitely do this one, and also would just act like Betsy by gambling.
Also, I kind of just want to see you with like this giant bear or whatever that creature's supposed to be shawl.
It's a bear.
Because I've seen you wear the coat, right?
Yeah.
And that's not far off. So I think that this is right up your alley.
Yeah, I have to carry on a caber, though. Those things aren't small. But the Bet Big, Betsy specialization, 4 cost, 8 attack, 3 block. The specializations almost always are. When not legendary specialization, just specialization. When this attacks a hero, you may wager, keyword there, a gold, might, and vigor token with them. So for the low cost of 6 resources, we get 9 overpower on hit, make a gold, might, and vigor.
Now, I'm waiting for the rules reprise because I think another thing that's going to alter the way I think about Betsy is whether or not you have the option. I don't think this will come up very often because, why would you have a fistful of resources and an abundance of them? But whether or not you can pitch per wager activation, because if you could pay 10 but activate her 3 times because you're technically wagering a gold, wagering a might, and wagering a vigor.
I think since it puts it all on one line, it's one ability and one wager.
I suspect that's the case. Now, if there are non-attacks or other things that allow you to wager on top of it, that could be another route.
That's another trigger, right?
But yeah, obviously you get a ton of stuff when this hits. It's not a crush effect either. That's the other thing that jumps out to me.
Just on hit.
Just on hit. It is a very big attack. Pun very intended because it's bet big. I dig it. I think that with Betsy as well, you're really going to kind of like lean into some of these token generators a bit more because the pluses to attacks, I think, are going to start to add up over the course of a game. This could very much be the kind of hero where you're swinging haymakers, but you also generate this almost kind of inertia for yourself, where if you don't have your stuff fully blocked out every turn, then, the next turn might be +1, +2, +3 based on the tokens you're getting. It's really going to feel like, honestly, like you're in a fight with Mike Tyson, right? Like the first blow sucks, but you don't want to get hit with the follow-ups either.
Like there's going to be a match at some point, I hope it's on camera, where somebody tosses a bet big, wagers, pays for the 6, comes in, somebody comes with, okay, do my best to cover it up, and then they pummel it. And it turns into, okay, on hit is now discard 2 cards, and I get all of these. And then the opponent then throws up on the table mid-match. And I feel like that's going to happen at some point, because that's the type of shit where, nope, you don't come back from that very easily. Not with this type of hero. That's a hit that they're getting a resource, pluses, and the ability to draw cards. Awkward. Can also randomly play cash in to just use the gold. So there's a lot going on there, and I am here for it. I think that she's going to be super fun. Seems like a house across the board. In limited, she's going to be fucking terrifying.
Yeah,
because
I think that she's going to be a lot of fun. I think that honestly, of the heroes we've seen, all of them look fun. I think this is going to be my next favorite set since Outsiders. I've really enjoyed the design of everything I've seen so far from this. I I cannot agree with you harder. I think that she's going to be very fun to pilot, but also terrifying to play against.
Yeah, Bet Big feels like Terminator Tank with less steps. And that's bad. Like, that's going to feel really bad. Just putting that out there in the world.
Before we move on from her, one last thing I want to say, because it's already kind of been, shown or spoiled some Marvel versions of the hero in the art. I love her young hero art, because when you look at the extended art for it, it's not just like, oh, she's leaning on an animal. Because at first glance, when this hero was revealed, I was like, oh, she's leaning against something, could be maybe a mount or something. And then when I saw the extended art, no, it's like something she felled in the arena.
Yeah.
And it's got its tongue sticking out. And I just love it. And that smug, proud look on her face, it's beautiful. I love her young hero art.
We know that she was like that. If you look at the young hero art, right, and you see the thing that she just felled, and then you look at the old hero art, you realize she's wearing the scales of that creature. Like, literally, those are her drawers, man.
Mm-hmm.
And the second one that's laying like down like in front of her as well, she's wearing those too. Like, that's one of her. Those are side pieces. Like, she's at least using every part of the animal, I guess, is where we're going with Betsy now.
I do like that they kind of continued the storytelling with her, because it's not just like, okay, now she's wearing scales. Obviously, her fur gets the head, but also like her braid gets longer. Like, you can tell that this is somebody that just continued to get rougher as time went on.
Kind of grew up in the arena. Yeah.
Yeah. I dig it.
Giant badass. That's what she is. Moving on, we did get our second warrior. We got our wager warrior. In this case, it's Olympia prized fighter. Again, standard 440, 420. This one, pretty simple text box. Very Ira-like text box. The first time, that key thing here, as we were talking earlier, the first time each of your attacks wins a wager, create a gold token. So pretty easy. So if you have an attack that's wagering a gold and it hits, you win the wager and you would create 2 gold. Right? So a pretty easy thing. That just means that we're probably going to see a lot more warrior cards that have to do with gold, is my guess. But a very simplified text box, a very simplified hero. Not to say that playing this hero is going to be simple, but if you compare like the text boxes on Olympia to the text box on Kasai of the Golden Sand or Kasai, these are not the same. And I think it's very apparent that these are not the same. There's just not a lot more to say about Olympia in my mind. What do you think?
There's not a lot to say about what's been revealed, but I will say once I saw his text box, I got a little concerned, just kind of by going a little bit further into the inference. Like, yeah, we have the next card we're going to talk about, his specialization, which is part of it. But I was thinking immediately about like Kasai and her specialization, where obviously you destroy a bunch of gold and then you make a bunch of cell swords. Like, what's the big payoff if you're making all this gold? And because it looks like he has the ability to make gold so far easier than almost, any other hero,
right?
That is potentially scary if he has a big output for it. And right now, his specialization that we're going to talk about is not that. It's not like Raise the Army, where it's like, okay, here's your gold output. So what is it for him? He's not going to amass all this gold and then do nothing with it. So like, to me, that's the interesting part. But it kind of sucks for us in discussion, because it's I don't know. I have this feeling that something is coming.
Yeah. One of the things is another instance of Federico Musetti absolutely crushing a piece of art, and that is Olympia specialization, up the ante. So this is a blue block 3. Cost is X. Choose X plus 1. So if you do it for 0, you get 1 of these. But if you pitch a blue,
you get 2. Yeah,
pitch a blue, you get them all.
4, which is all of them.
Choose X plus 1. Target attack wagers an agility token with the defending hero. Target attack wagers a gold token with the defending hero. Target attack wagers a vigor token with the defending hero. Target attack gets plus Y, which is interesting, where Y is the number of times it has wagered. So this is where we're seeing multiple instances of wagering on a card, line by line.
Yeah.
So it's not one wager. It is 3 wagers and then a payoff for wagering all that shit.
Right. So if you attack with an attack that already has wager to start with, and then you pitch a blue as an attack reaction and play up the ante, it's going to wager the 3 more times, right? Agility, vigor, gold, and give plus 4.
Right. That is correct. Because it's stacking up wagers.
Good.
Seems pretty good. And this being an attack reaction is one of the things that created some conversation, because the fact that this is an attack reaction really changes wagering very fast. Because
you might, conversely, you might just be attacking with something vanilla, and then your opponent's like, okay, no on hits, so I choose to not block. And then somebody does the old blue pitch, play this. Granted, it's only plus 3 at that point, but you also now have the 3 wagers on top of it. So you're going to get potentially all of those, plus the hero trigger as well, because it's Olympia. It's just a lot of stuff on a blue block 3, right?
Yeah. Can you imagine just snatch and then don't worry about it. Block 4, it'll be fine.
You always block the snatch. Snatch is never just snatch.
But ever. Block 4 on it, it'll be fine. It's never more than 4. Slam one of these. Shit.
Now, it is also worth noting, because we talked about it with Betsy, this is target attack. So
not weapon, not warrior, it's just an attack.
Yep.
Which is also interesting because I wrote this in the show notes. I'm so fucking sad that this is an Olympia specialization, because this in Kasai would be cuckoo nuts bananas. Can you imagine attacking with a Centauri sellsword and then upping the ante? That shit would be hilarious.
Yeah. Honestly, I think part of the other reason this is an Olympia specialization is that this card could be really good even on heroes who don't really even care about the wagering.
The wagering part, yeah.
Because it's a blue block 3, it's got such a low floor that you could totally just all right, I'm just going to chuck this in half of the heroes and still be fine with it.
Be fine.
It's really good for what it does. I have in my own notes, not in our show notes, but in my own notes.
Wait, you take notes?
Yeah, I do actually. Uber.
Holy shit.
Mitch Leslie, who is known for esports casting and casting Flesh and Blood, but also he's a big fan of Dorinthia, plays Dorinthia a lot, right? On Twitter, he had an exchange after this was revealed where somebody else who loves Dorinthia said, my brother and Warrior, they're trying to make us put down Dory. It's a conspiracy. And his reply was, and I thought this was hilarious because now I can't think of Olympia in any other thing. He said, must resist Chadius Maximus. And now every time I see Olympia because of that, I'm like, yeah, that's Chadius
Maximus.
Yeah,
pretty much. I mean, look at the dude. He's Daddius Maximus. I mean, fuck.
Yeah. He's got that Riz. He's wagering.
He's got the Riz. He started in a kind of a dressed down Spartan, are you not entertained look, and was a full on gladiatorial, looks like he's in the 13th Legion look.
His young and old hero are like the story of Gladiator in reverse. Olympia prized fighter looks like Marcus when he is still the general before he's disgraced, and then young one is, you know, in the
disgraced, yeah,
arena version. But
yeah, so this scares me just a little bit about what else Warrior's gonna get, because I want Kasai to be good. I want Kasai being good to be difficult. I don't want it to be obvious. And it's starting to feel like it might be obvious, because some of these reactions and some of these other things, because like, yes, this is Olympia only. But, and okay, two other things. Both of these cards are Shiana cards. Can you fucking imagine bashing with Bet Big and upping the ante on the stupid thing?
Yeah.
It'd be funny as hell. Like, I'm excited about that. It'd be fun. But to me, that's just a blast. It's a blue that blocks 3, so it goes in Shiana anyway. But back to the thought here, because we do have another warrior attack reaction.
Yeah. And I think this one's pretty good as well. And I think this leans toward what you were saying about like what direction is warrior going to go for this set. And I think this helps paint the picture.
Yeah, this one has me kind of, I read it, I reread it, and I read it again and went, Jesus, okay, I guess. And this one is Take the Upper Hand. It's a warrior attack reaction. It's a rare, which is interesting. But so this one's the red. It may be a rainbow. Don't really know. But it's so 0 cost red block 3. Play this only if you've wagered this chain link. So the link has to have wagered. Target attack gets +3. Seems very vanilla and very innocuous. But it's kind of anything but innocuous, because this can happen on a lot of things, and they're already dangerous.
The thing that jumped out to me, and why I was talking about potential direction for this set, is that it feels a lot like Dory attack reactions from Welcome to Wraith, where the Dory ones were like reprise, and then you get the 0 for 3. But the thing with reprise was that required your opponent to do something.
This doesn't.
This, you're in control. So as long as you've got enough ways to wager, you're just live all the time. Also, the art on this, I love it. It's very, very good in terms of like telling a story. Like, I'm a very big fan of this piece of art. However, I'm a little upset that the person is just losing like the tip of a finger, because
I want the whole hand.
Yeah, if the card is Take the Upper Hand, then like that needs to happen at the wrist. I'm sorry.
Gotta lop the whole thing off.
Like,
I understand that
rules,
literally
it's the rule.
It is literally taking the upper part of a hand. So that is, I get that, but I want the whole hand.
Yeah.
I want the whole thing.
If you have not seen the card art, there's really one cool dude who's like holding a fistful of betting wagers, and he's swinging a sword, and then it's from the point of view of like it's happening to you. So it's, first person, and there's 2 hands in the photo, and one of them was like holding a betting ticket that's being cut in half, but also the guy who's swinging the sword is taking like the upper part of one of the fingers as well. And it's also beautiful because the art tells the story already, but then they went the extra mile with the flavor text, and it says, "Bet you won't say that to me a second time."
Right. And Dunrik Vargas might be my new favorite character. Because fuck it, just cut him. What this card also made me think was we could very easily see in this set defense reactions or block cards that make an attack wager. And so if it's like, okay, attack with a thing, and they're like, all right, no blocks, react with this thing that makes it wager with me so that I can get the benefit of the wager by blocking it out. And then it's like slam, take the upper hand behind it. It's like, no. This be mine. That's
so like
also
a sync below with a built-in wager or something like that.
I think there'll be block cards. I don't think that there'll be reacts. So it'll be block with the block card, add wager to it, and something else, add wager to it potentially.
Why
and
not
then
both .gif?
You can do Por qué no los dos, but I think we'll see more block cards than reacts because of Overpower being the kind of replacement for Dominate in a way, because Dominate's a little too overtuned. I think we all know that. Overpower is fixed Dominate, basically. So, and then block cards are the way around Overpower. So I think that you'll see more of those. Not to say we won't see defense reactions. I just don't see we'll see as many.
I just was imagining something like there might be a cycle of blocks in the common slot, and then there might be the defense reactions in the rare slot.
Yeah. I could even see a thing like an unmovable reprint to take care of some of these giant fucking gladiator attacks, or like these guardian attacks we're going to see. Because we're already seeing 4 for 8. That usually points to more of the same.
Yeah, but I mean, that's also a specialization in the majestic slot.
Yeah, but you could you very easily do another 4 for 8, 5 for 9, or whatever. That's less like.
I mean, in brutal. The common slot, though. I mean, so yeah, we've got the 4 for 8s, whatever. But like in the common slot, we have also already seen like a lot of 3 for 7s.
Yeah.
So that's the other side.
Yeah, wage vigor is right there, and that's just straight up.
And we've got agility. Gold, I think, was a rare, right? Wage gold.
Wage gold is a rare. It's rainbow in a rare,
right?
Yeah, because that one's universal. Yeah,
still a lot of the like 3 for 7, 2 for 6, that sort of stuff is the things that we've seen already. So
Warrior's just a 3 for 10 with get 2 gold, or get a gold token. If you're Olympia, get 2. Like, why not? Seems fair. Doesn't seem fair. But yeah, so I'm really digging, and I was kind of already priced into digging this set and where it's going because of the presence of Kasai. But I'm also liking a lot of the other heroes we're seeing, and the day after this episode comes out, potentially day of, because why wouldn't it? We'll actually get to see the Brute hero, or the first Brute hero, is being spoiled by Tolarian Community College. Yep, the 27th, so the day after this comes out. So we'll be talking about that during FAP After Dark, which is also the 27th. So if you're interested in that, please join us if you're part of the Patreon on the 27th at, I think it's 9:30 Eastern time. But I'm looking at the spoiler schedule on Fabrary, and there's a really cool thing on the spoiler schedule. You know what it is?
Hold on. I'm pulling it up. And I'm looking at... Oh, you know what? Yeah. I see it now. There is Good Friends at February. They have one on January 16th. I love those guys.
Yeah, and Fresh and Buds. Love those guys too.
Yeah. Sunflower Samurai.
Yeah. Leo, I can never. It's I have Ophidian French. I see that they've got one on the 16th. You've got Mansant on the 15th, so that'll be something Brute oriented. You can almost guarantee. The 17th is looking a little sparse though. We've got Cardboard Cast, which good on them, and then Flesh and Pod. They don't get spoiler cards, do they?
No.
Yeah, that's really weird. Somebody must have made a mistake in there.
All right, so this was me. February, very, very kind person, acquiesced my request to troll. I was like, hey, it'd be really funny if you just like threw us up there and confuse a bunch of people, but
that's weird. Your words
he did it. And then
Your words were made manifest, sir.
Well, yeah, like we were contacted by LSS because obviously, like, we can't tell fibs. Turns out very frowned upon. So now it's just true. Now it's just true.
Now we just have a spoiler card.
We are revealing a card on Wednesday the 17th
at midnight Central Standard Time. You will see the first ever on YouTube.
The last ever. Oh, I mean the first ever.
Could be both. Could be both. Same. Flesh and Pod spoiler card. It finally happened. All it took was 104 weeks or 107 weeks. That's it. So
yeah,
you two out there, if you really want to spoil a card for a game that you love and talk about glowingly on a regular basis with your best friends, and record it. If you do that for 107 weeks in a row, you too can be spoiling a card for Flesh and Blood. I have faith in you. But yes, we did get one. Finally, thank you everyone out there that has been mounting a pressure campaign on LSS to enable us to do this. We're going to try to do something fun with it because why wouldn't we? And we'll be on a boat. So we'll figure something out.
Yeah, it's honestly a little bit sad that this isn't like a pirate themed set just because we're going to be on a boat and that would have been full perfecto, but
yeah.
Instead, what we're probably going to do is just kill an actual human being in international waters.
Are we?
I don't know.
I mean, it would be one hell of a video. Also, would probably get us arrested. But if it happens in international waters, are we good?
I'm pretty sure the answer is still no. I'm pretty sure that instead everyone gets to arrest you instead of nobody.
So it's not like it's not like bird law.
Well, I mean, I would have to contact my lawyer who specializes in bird law to answer that.
I thought Flake specialized in bird law.
That's what I'm saying.
That's the answer. Okay. You have to contact
my
Flake,
lawyer. Yeah.
Who specializes in bird law.
We have Black Hole Legal, who specializes in everything else, and then we have Flake, who specializes in bird law.
I thought Black Hole Legal only specialized in bribes. That is everything else.
That's the American legal system.
Holy shit, I forgot. Okay, I get it now. But yes, so please tune in to YouTube on the 17th. Again, thrilled to have this happen. We hopefully will do something that is good enough that they deign to let us do this again, because it's fun. Like, it was one of those like heart-stopping moments where saw it come into my inbox. I'm like, wait the fucking second. And I open it up and I look at it. I look again. I'm like, I'm going to reply. I'm going to see if this like is real or not. And so I reply and then immediately get a reply back of like, yeah, here's your card. And I'm like, charmer thing.
Yeah.
And he's like, no fucking way. And then, well, turned out, yeah, fucking way. What were the exact words? It is not April Fool's, right? That was the one. Yeah.
Yeah. I had to check in. I didn't know if maybe you had more head trauma recently. I don't know.
Well, there's just the carryover from the existing head trauma. But, Okay, so we're 43 minutes in. Let's do listener questions. We haven't done that in a few weeks.
Yeah, and we've got quite a few. So
we have some backlog to handle. We're going to just kind of take a 3-pack here that are probably going to take some discussion. So
nope,
we're done. Like, we just can just.
No, I mean, we're still going to answer them. It's just no discussion.
Okay,
we don't do that here.
No discussion. Okay. So why are we answering these?
Because they asked a question. It's still polite to answer. Sometimes when somebody asks you a question, you can answer without a discussion. Like, for example, if you say, hey, do you want to go get something to eat? And I say, yeah. Sometimes that's it. I don't need to discuss where we're going. I just want to put food in my face hole.
Okay. So our first question is from Helmut.
Helmet.
Helmut?
Helmut.
Helmut?
I said no discussion.
Fuck. Helmut asks, hey, I am unsure whether or not you talked about this. I don't think we did. But I wanted to ask you guys how you feel about LSS cutting the prize structure for RTNs, considering the top 8 won't receive cold foil heroes in the future. This greatly reduces the incentive for me personally to travel for these events. Okay, so I had to pull up what RTNs give.
Yeah, what is the new prize structure?
And this was different to me because now it is top 4 players receive a Nats entry, a qualification to Nats. Okay, that's perfect. One random gold cold foil card, which is not something that RTNs had before.
Correct.
8 rainbow foil hero promo cards. Now, those used to be cold foils. But again, there's a gold foil now, which is different. 2 playmats for first and second. That's been the same, I think, from what I remember.
Yeah. It might. Yeah, I think it might have just been for the finalists.
Yeah. And then a judge pack for the head judge, right?
Yeah.
So, yes, there is a difference in the top 8 being rainbow foil heroes instead of cold foils, but there's a big ante up with it going to a gold foil, rare or majestic at the top. Now, at the last RTN season that I remember was the one for Vegas, and I can't remember what the winning cold foil was. But there was a cold foil for winning, and there were cold foil heroes, right?
Yeah.
Because I wound up, I
wasn't it? No, there was one season where it was like Fire Dromai and then Icelander went to the winner.
Yeah, it was Fire. That was 2022.
Yeah.
Was Fi and Dromai cold foils to top 8 and Icelander to the winner. And that Icelander is expensive now.
Yeah.
And then after that, so last year would have been Uzuri, Riptide, and Arachne cold foils. Because Young Azalea was Skirmish.
Right.
And the others were already
but
out
I don't
there.
think there was one that was designated just for winners, though. I think those ones were always randomized.
No, there was a winning cold foil, and I don't remember what it was. Maybe I can just find the 2023 kit. Because they do have an archive here. 2023. That's Bright Light stuff. Nope. We don't have it in here. Okay. So I don't remember what it was, but I think it was a cold foil for what it's worth. I don't see, I guess I'm having a hard time seeing this as a cut in pricing, because one, we already have seen that if they print something in rainbow foil, they don't reprint it.
It's a cut if you were somebody who is farming them before. So let me take this one first, because I feel like what this change is doing is actually addressing what you would see happen here in Lower Michigan during the RTN season. One of the complaints that I have heard from a lot of new players who come into Flesh and Blood is they start the game, and then 2 or 3 months in, sometimes it's more, sometimes it's less, but roughly around that time period, you get a bunch of people that get frustrated because they keep just like losing to the same people. They know that they kind of hit their ceiling, and so unless they put in a ton of extra work, they can't punch through, yada yada yada. And that does happen when you consistently have stuff that is valuable enough to want to win. Case in point, here in Michigan, when RTN season rolls around, it is very common to see, I would say, roughly the same 12 to 15 people always placing in the top 8. So like there is some in and out, but it's very common to continue to see the same people top 8 over and over and over again at the Michigan events. Here in our Discord, for example, I think this last RTN season, or maybe it was the ProQuest season, but I know Ben finished in like 3 or 4 top 8s, something like that. And so if you're somebody who's also getting those cold foil heroes every time, that can be an incentive, because all you have to do is top 8. And then you're going to basically win $100 plus anything else that the LGS might be putting up. You know, again, sometimes it's more, sometimes it's less. I'm just rounding here, right? But like, you know, if you can drive an hour and win $100 every weekend, like that seems fine, you know? So I think this new structure is one where they are doing what you said. I think they're trying to keep the pricing overall roughly the same for the entire event. It's just more top heavy. Because I will also say that for a lot of people, one of two things matters to them. They either care about the pricing or they care about the invite. Whenever I go, I only care about the invite. But there are some people who, you know, like I said, they're just kind of like farming the top 8 pricing. And so now it's one, you go and you qualify, and then if you get your invite, unless you really think you can win the whole thing, you might be less incentivized to make the drive, just like Helmut is saying here. Now, if that's the case, what is that doing? Well, that's actually opening it up so that other folks might get an invite, which I think is a net good for the game. But also, this does something that I don't think existed in the previous ones, which is once you got to the top 4, unless the LGS was putting something up extra or whatever, there wasn't really a lot of incentive to try hard after the top 4, other than like ELO or bragging rights or whatever. But there was no gold foil. Now, like, playing to win is still relevant. It's not like a ProQuest where you had to win to get the invite. Here for RTN, it was always top 4. So once you got to there, like, you already got your cold foil, you already got your invite. You know, if you make it to the finals, you get the playmat, but a lot of people don't care as much about those. Yeah, sometimes there was another cold foil. And like you said, you know, the Icelander one, that's expensive now, but it's not the same as like a gold foil. So I think what they've done here is they're saying, if you get your invite, you know, maybe you feel more comfortable taking some weeks off, but also if you are in the top 8 and you want to play to win, like, here's us throwing you a bone as well, but we're still giving something to the folks who top 8 these, but it won't be, you know, as wealthy, if you will, as it used to be, because we're going to make it a bit more top heavy. Like, overall, I think it's probably either a net zero, or it might even be a slight like positive in terms of the overall value if you're looking at like secondary market stuff. But I think that they want to get more people opportunities to qualify, but they also want to reward the people who like try hard to try to win the entire thing. And I don't personally have a complaint, because for me it was always like I just wanted to get the invites anyway.
Right. Yeah. I kind of still have a little bit of the concern, because you will get people that are playing in these that are trying to farm gold foils.
Sure. Like, everybody knows who Dagon is. We don't have to beat around the bush.
We do have a noted gold foil farmer that is here. So I really hope that there is ELO on the line in these, because that way it maybe will make some people reconsider. But the I guess for me personally, I see this as a net neutral. The one thing that I have noticed that wasn't part of the question is that seems to be less RTNs. Because like the Des Moines area has 1, whereas we've had multiple ProQuests before. The last time that we had the last ProQuest season, we had 2 ProQuests, and one of them had 30 people, which is a decent turnout, especially since it was later in ProQuest season. And the other one wasn't nearly as well attended, but still 16, 17, somewhere in that general vicinity. But only the one that had the lower attendance wound up getting an RTN, and no one else in the area did, which is crazy.
Quick question. Is it possible that some of the stores just haven't posted theirs yet?
is.
Because I remember during the last ProQuest season, it felt like there was only going to be like 2 here, and then there ended up being like 5. But some stores, like for whatever reason, didn't post their info until much later.
I'm the person that schedules these for one of the LGSs, the one that had, and I will just check here right now to see if I have one available. Let's look. Nope, sure don't. So yeah, it's not that necessarily. I think that they reduced the number. I've also heard that the Dallas area has one, which that's crazy.
Because the reason I asked is because because I was curious. Now that you had said something, I'm like, oh man, I guess like I hadn't looked as hard. When I'm looking at the posted RTN season stuff that is within driving distance for me, so I would consider that anything 2 hours or less to drive. I've got 5 still. I've got 2 booster drafts and 3 classic constructeds that are within a 2-hour drive, and then I've got ones that are like plenty more within 4 hours. Granted, that's because there's like a decent amount in Chicago and Ohio, but even just thinking about like my normal Michigan bunch of stores, like it's not every store, right? There's definitely some stores that I see missing that have had events in the past, but like I still have 5. So I don't know.
I mean, sure, I guess but there are none there's one within 2 hours of drive of me. There are, I think, 5 within 4 hours. And one of them that is actually the next closest is on the same day as the local one. So great. Is what it is. But yeah, to me, that seems less to me, because it seemed like I could play a double dip every weekend without driving forever the last RTN season. I ended up not, because I couldn't go to nationals. But yeah, I don't know. It seems like a weird season. Maybe they rushed it a little bit because they're doing it earlier in the year. Who knows, right?
Well, and that was the reason why I'd asked, because I didn't know if maybe some of this is like the holidays playing a part in it, right? Like maybe there are other places that have it and they just don't have their ducks in a row because of everything going on. And, perhaps, that first or second week in January, we'll see a bunch more populate. I don't know. I'm trying to be optimistic, but I didn't see like a noticeable drop off really in my area. So
yeah, I think there just was in some areas. And maybe that's because of diminished representation in the player base. I don't know. Like, it's hard to say. Next question is from Polish Guy. What's up, Rich? With it seeming like FAP got a preview card the very week there was not going to be a show, when did Logan become Levia? Well, I did not do anything different this time in search of a preview card. It just kind of happened. And I guess we can think of the threat of not doing a show, which we have been very, very bad at making good on so far. Move the needle, but I think that LSS would rather have us stop. But that's, I guess that's just my view.
Actually, yeah, that was probably it. They were probably like, all right, they're threatening to take a break. We'll give them the card, and then they can feel like they've got their carrot. Maybe they'll go away.
Yeah, right. Then they should, I guess it's possible, but little did they know they emboldened us. But I have not become Levia. It just so happened. And again, I would have loved to take a break by now. Would have loved to take a break last week, but we didn't. And so now it's 108. Next week's 109. I get the feeling that's gonna be a thing too. And then if we're going to do 110, we'd have to do it on the boat.
Yes.
which Charmer is really all about.
Listen,
boat life.
For the folks who don't know, Logan has purchased the unlimited drink package for this boat. So if we don't record live in person and then publish his slurred words, we are doing you, the fappers, a disservice. That's all I'm saying.
I did purchase the unlimited drink package. That is correct. I don't know that was the most healthy choice I could make for me, my well-being, or the denizens of a cruise ship. But I will say that the purchasing of said package may have been directly correlated to to us obtaining a preview card.
I'm just waiting for us to finally miss a week, and it'll be because you were literally in the brig on a cruise ship.
I would record from the brig.
If they would let me down there, I would just record through the bars. Yeah, but
or if I had my phone and I could connect to the ship Wi-Fi, I would just, do it over Discord or something and be like, yeah, I'm down here.
Somehow I don't think they let you keep the phone
in the brig. I mean, it's not. It's not real prison, right?
No, it's international waters prison. So you're basically going to live through Saw the movie.
Oh, easy. That sounds fine. I'm okay with this. I can win that.
Yeah, I'm just saying you don't get the phone.
What do I have to do for the phone?
I don't know. The only Saw I've seen is the first one. So I guess saw your own arm off. Isn't that?
Yeah. I mean, that happens.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, sorry. I didn't say spoilers, but if you haven't seen.
Oh, for fuck's sake.
Saw.
Yeah. Okay. No, the statute of limitations on Saw spoilers expired over a decade ago.
I know.
So no, absolutely not. Hopefully that answered your question, Rich. Next question. This one might take a minute. But Big Lou, being one of our favorite fappers, he's asked for our 2023 FAP superlatives. So I felt like, you know what? It's our last show of 2023. Why not? Right?
Yep.
So we're going to go through these, which ends up being 11 fucking questions. Lou, I want to point out, I'm giving you 11 questions. But we're going to run through these and see if Charmer and I have any agreements. I doubt it. But so first one, favorite new hero. Charmer?
I mean, you could probably write most of these for me. So,
I probably could. That's Uzuri.
Yeah, that's Uzuri.
Yeah, that one was pretty easy. Yeah. Okay. This one's a little bit harder for me because there wasn't a ton that spoke to me, but probably Vincent. She's right there. Yeah. It's mirrored. I can't. There we go. Right there. Yeah. Oh shit. Other way around. Fuck it. Whatever. I think that's probably the answer. I think just aesthetically, Vincent is pleasing, and the Hellraiser vibe is really cool for me. Charmer's a simp, so yeah. Uzuri.
I'm an assassin simp.
Yeah, you sure are. Sounds awesome. Favorite new set? Well, this is again probably pretty easy for Charmer.
Outsiders.
It's Outsiders. Yep. That sounds about right. I don't know. Like, we had, this was Outsiders, Dusk Till Dawn, Bright Lights, and that was it. Right?
Yeah, I think so. Because we didn't have another supplemental early in the year. That was at the end of last year. So
yeah, we just had the 2 draftable sets and a supplemental. Because Dynasty was in November of 2022. Probably Outsiders, honestly. Like Bright Lights, there wasn't a lot for me. Dusk Till Dawn is the set that made me quit collecting all the cards. So Yeah, it's probably Outsiders. I thought that Outsiders was generally speaking a good set. I thought that the introduction of Assassin, of Missouri specifically, is something that has helped change the game a bit for the better. I also feel like getting the Ranger cards out there, one to send Lexi to the glue factory, and two to make Azalea into a competitive hero, were super important. So yeah, I think that I have to also go with Outsiders. Next one's favorite new non-hero, non-equipment card.
Mm-hmm.
What is it?
All right, so the joke answer, because we always start with jokes here, is Cold Foil Pummel. But if we're going for an actual one that was in a set, it's got to be Shakedown.
Shakedown's pretty good. This is going to be a little weird. But I think it's probably Tome of Imperial Flame. Just because while it's a weapon for the police, it's one of the most interesting and powerful cards that they've put out there that completely changed how a deck approaches the metagame and how the metagame had to react to it, that we've had. That just was a single change the landscape, right? That and Warmonger's Diplomacy are probably the two that did that. And I think that Tome of Imperial Flame was probably the one that's more interesting to me, because there's no real niche to it. It just goes in the deck and then does degen shit, which I love. So that's got to be the answer for me is Tome. Favorite new equipment or weapon? That's a bit harder.
All right, so joke answer would be Popped Color Polo.
It's a pretty good one.
But and this one might surprise folks because I don't typically play it in Uzuri, but I do play it in Arachne. I actually really like Mask of Perdition because it of the equipment pieces that are for like the assassin gameplay that is contract based, it's the most important, and it's the one like of all of the silver you get them back blah 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 activations that I think is the most useful, the one you actually want to prioritize using. Black Tech is good, but you don't like, and you'll use it, but you don't really like prioritize getting it back. Mask is the one where you're like, all right, if I'm going to play a contract deck, it's because I want to use Mask and get Mask back over and over. It is such a key part of the game plan. So for me, it would probably be that. If I had to pick a non-assassin, non-joke answer, I also was kind of a big fan of the Trench because I think that does some pretty interesting things, and I think adaptive plating is really cool, even if I hate playing against it. I love the idea of something you can move around, but for me, it like Mask of Perdition is one of the few equipment pieces where like whether I'm playing that or not actually dictates so much I want to do with my deck building, and I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah. This one's a little bit difficult for me because there wasn't a ton of different stuff outside of the Assassin Suite that I've played with on occasion that I wound up using. But the one that probably sticks out the most is Iron Song Versus. I just liked having the ability to switch to something that was a little more proactive than reactive when it came to between that and Brave Forge Bracers. And it made the play patterns a little bit different. And now with what we can see is going on in heavy hitters, like incentivizing those blocks to happen early in the combat chain may actually carry some weight when it comes to warriors. So I think we'll see a pickup, an increase in the use of Iron Song Versus. Get your copies now if you don't have them, but that's probably the answer to that question, because kind of an underrated piece of equipment right now in my mind. there was really no weapon that I loved. I'm trying to think, like, there outside of Banksy, because a wrench is not a gun.
A wrench is not a gun.
It's not a gun. Like that one I enjoyed a lot of, and also just the art, especially on Cold Foil or Orbitoclast. Like that one was really good.
That one looks really good too. I think Nerve Scalpel looks really cool too in Cold Foil.
Mm-hmm, it does. Favorite new deck? Oof.
Uzuri.
Yeah, right. Uzuri. Favorite new deck? I think it's the Max the Hype Nitro mech suit deck. I think that one is super fun. And yeah, it's kind of a glass cannon, but when it fires off, it does the fucking work. It's really, really good when it works. It's just the when it works portion of the show. But I think that I really enjoyed that deck. And I don't know. For me, it played uniquely. Let's put it that way. Favorite new art. This is one to approach a little bit differently. So my favorite new art in general is the key art for the breaker piece. That is still gorgeous to me. I absolutely love it, but it's then broken out on cards into pieces, and so you don't get all of it on cards. So if you're talking about on card, probably the Sagrada art for the Sagrada sigil.
That's a good choice.
It's so good, and narrowly for me beats out the Jack-o'-lantern art. That's the other one that really competes right now, because the Jack-o'-lantern art is so sick. Like, I still love it. The detail is incredible.
All right, so this is also going to be like a multifaceted answer for me. Simp answer, Young Uzuri.
Shocking,
right? That's the simp answer. On card, just regular card. It's probably Figment of Tenacity. I've talked about that one a lot.
Yeah.
It's the serpent, the Norse like feel, the lightning. It's just very epic. And I adore that piece, specifically the Figment side, not the Angel. I mean, both sides are great, but like I love Figment of Tenacity. So if that's the generic card, then we're picking that. Now, if we're talking about like you get to change it up though, if I'm going with a cold foil card, it's cold foil Bloodrot Pox token. Because when it's cold foiled, it looks outstandingly like ghoulish and gory. There's just something about like that extra shimmer. It makes the blood kind of feel shiny and slimy and slippery. And then if you're going for like alternate art stuff, I adored the way that all of the codexes looked in their Marvel versions, just because even though like the art is more like a hand-drawn sketch, and so it doesn't have like that inherent full art piece natural beauty some of the other ones I named do. They just feel really cool. Like every time I see those Marvels jump out to me, because they're not just like, you know, the big full art versions of something already beautiful. Granted, those ones are also great, right? Like I love seeing all the angels. I love seeing all the dragons. They are awesome. But those codexes just feel unique to me every time I see them. So I really like those as well. So like, I know that this is kind of cheating because I'm picking a bunch, but the reality is LSS hit it out of the park with art this year. So it's very hard to answer this without covering a bunch of different things.
Yeah, it's very difficult to do. Favorite news story. That's a weird one, because what's a news story in Flesh and Blood?
Not discarding a card to pummel.
Pummelgate.
That's a news story, right?
That was some fun discourse, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess that was kind of, it occupied the zeitgeist of Flesh and Blood for far too long, to be completely fair. And we got some questions about that one.
I know what my answer to this is.
What is it?
Because I would consider this a news story. The transition to draftable sets.
Okay. So why do you consider that a news story?
Because to me, it feels like a news story because it is news because it was changing. It was an announcement of LSS saying we're changing the way that we approach our releases going forward. And it's not just a change in business model, but it's a change in player experience as well. I know that for the early parts of the game, we had Flesh and Blood, and then they kind of announced what they called Flesh and Blood 2.0, right? Where they were changing some of their distribution policies and doing those things. I would almost consider this at a minimum Flesh and Blood 2.5, if not even a full move to 3.0, because the change to draftable sets not only makes it so that your year is a bit more like planable, and you don't have to like hem and haw about how much I want to buy of this supplemental or do I want to chase down singles. But also it's saying to the players, like, we're going to put an emphasis on the limited experience. We're going to put an emphasis on the new player experience, because when I say the change to draftable sets, I'm also talking about like crack shuffle play and some of those other things that I know that they are trying to really highlight. So to me, that's my favorite news story, because I think that it is a net good for the game. And as somebody who loves limited, I'm now excited for every set release. Dusk Till Dawn had some neat stuff, has some great cards, but like I wasn't what I would describe as excited for that set. And even though I don't play Mechanologist, I was still excited for Bright Lights because I knew going into it, hey, I can draft this a bunch, and I'm going to draft it a bunch because they're putting an emphasis on limited again. And I feel that same way about heavy hitters. And I like that I know going forward, I can feel that way for a bunch of different products. So that's my favorite story.
Mine's a little bit, it's quite a bit different than that. Mine is the Outsiders God boxes. That was wild, because we had a weekend of just insane speculation of, are they repacking these? Is this bullshit? Is this, and then it kind of happened a couple more times, and we're like, okay, now it's happening other places and we have full video of it. What the fuck? And then LSS comes out and confirms it, which is, again, I have praised and applauded the transparency of LSS on many occasions. This was another example of them saying, hey, this happened. We know exactly, what happened. We don't know the exact number of these. We know approximate numbers and approximate maximum numbers. We're sorry it happened. But yeah, these are real. This exists. And that basically week span of people going like in droves and like trying to find Belgian cases of Outsiders to like sit on or crack to see if they could find a God box was fun. In all honesty, it was a good fucking time to be out there and just be like, wow, shit, like, is this one of them? And while it was a complete accident, I also felt like it created this weird bubble in the normal cycle of releases, which I thought, like I said, was super entertaining, even to the point that now, like, drafting Outsiders are going to a place and you hand the packs down, people are like, oh shit, this is Belgian. Like, it still happens. And I don't know. To me, that was fun as somebody that kind of has a bit of the collector in me still. Best thing LSS did this year. Is it just Worlds?
Print Uzuri.
Okay, fuck off. Is it just Worlds? Because it felt like stem to stern.
Worlds. Yeah, like Worlds was just a really good experience. Even with some of the, like, TO hangups and whatever, like, overall people still had a good time. If it's not going to be like Worlds, then what I would say is just giving players events to be excited about over and over again, and also taking a bunch of that feedback. I actually think I want to change that. I think the best thing they did was the last couple of weeks of info dumping.
Okay.
I'm going to say that like they killed this year as far as me having a good time every time I went to an event. But this is the first time in the game's history where I'm already very excited for next year, as opposed to going into next year not knowing what to expect. Historically, in previous years, the period between like when Worlds ends and I would say starting early February is just kind of like a dead zone. And that has not been the case here. They've been very open, very transparent. They've given me stuff to plan for like the next 6 months. They even helped support, like, yes, a lot of that work was done by the folks at the Realm, but I also want to give them applause for helping to support and cultivate that, right? So the Realm had their big invitational after Worlds, which gave people still one last event in arguably like that dead zone to also be excited for. They closed out this year better than any year they have in the past. And maybe that's a recency bias thing, right? Because it's so fresh in my memory. But yeah, when I reflect, I'm like, wow, yeah, this is the first time since I started playing the game where instead of being like, man, I can't wait to find out about next year, I already know.
Right. And that is a big deal, like, quite honestly. Which kind of leads into the worst thing LSS did this year. And to me, it was the timing of the Nats announcements. Not knowing where US Nats was the day before the first RTNs fired was awful. Because I would have and some of this is personal, right? Because I would have been able to plan my entire, everything differently had I known ahead of time and known I couldn't go. But I literally did not know until the evening before the first RTN were going to fire. And that is, I mean, honestly, it's a direct correlation to Derek's best thing that LSS did this year, because now we have that information for 2024 way ahead of time. So yeah, I would say that the worst thing they did led into the best thing they did in my mind.
So this one is a bit of a cheat just because it won't come to fruition until next year, but we found out about it during this calendar year. So I'm going to go with the worst thing LSS did this year was give us a preview card.
Oh, I mean, that's probably way up on the list, actually. That was a fucking mistake.
Oh,
I mean, why would they do that?
Because they I don't know. They want to see what kind of a crazy shenanigans we do with our reveal, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, we'll come up with something that's not okay. But favorite community moment. I have one. Charmer, do you have one?
It's hard to pick a favorite, but I think I have one. Even though it's going to hurt me to say it out loud, I have.
Oh no,
one.
you got the same one I have. Oh no, it's Mara's run at the Pro Tour.
Mara's run
God
at Baltimore.
Fuck.
Betting on herself and going all the way to the finals.
I hate the fact that we have the same one.
Okay, fine. If you're going to go with that one, that gives me the freedom. My community moment will be, because I had a front row seat for both ends of it, would be the Realm Invitational, starting with a Brody win on Azalea and ending with a Brody win on Azalea. After years of Azalea not getting her flowers and then having, the capstone end-to-end run of the coolest community run event of the year, I'll go with that. But my initial gut reaction was like, it was really cool that Mara bet on herself, showed up with a hero that she loves and has put the time in, and then went on such a run. Yeah.
That one is, I hate this. This is actually causing me physical pain. But that was probably the coolest thing this year. Was Mara literally saying, I think I have a shot at this. I'm not qualified, but I have come close so many times to winning these things. I'm going to, buy a PTI, redeem it, go to Baltimore, and I'm going to show that I know what I'm doing and that it's not these finishes aren't a fluke. And then she came in and just went berserk. But in true Mara fashion, she did not win the tournament. However,
I mean, she kind of did the same thing at the Realm Invitational too, right?
Well,
was gonna put up a booth for art, but then had too many commissions. So she's like, well, if I go, I can't even like take new commissions, so I might as well play. Shows up to play, tilts after a late loss, walks out of the event center, comes back to find out she was the last spot of the people who made it to day 2, shows up day 2, starts day 2 with a loss, is like, oh, I don't even know why I came this weekend, and then proceeds to go on a tear all the way to the top 8. Like, it's hard not to enjoy those runs. I mean, it's really
hard not to. And while we're gonna have to deal with her insufferable ego yet again, you got to give credit where it's due, right? We're not going to deny the actual truth of those moments. The actual truth of those moments are this fucking gas. Like, it really was. And if you were in the room while it was happening, it was like, holy shit, this is real. So, yep. Favorite community moment, gay icon Mara Ferris and her top 2 run at Pro Tour Baltimore. Favorite community members. I mean, this one's easy for me because the answer is just Flake. This show wouldn't exist without Flake. I know he hates hearing it and it gives him a complex, but one, he was one of the first people with any sort of reach that gave us any sort of validity as a show. Second, it's through Flake that I know Charmer. And the show wouldn't have continued without Charmer taking over when Abby and Jordan left. And that is Flake again. The first person that I reached out to when that happened to get their opinion and some counsel and some guidance was Flake. So yeah, the amount of stuff he does for this community, the amount of effort he puts in, the time, the dedication, the sheer unadulterated love for the community. And, he puts up with a lot of shit. And that's most of it is undue. And he also, but he's out there, working his ass off to provide the best experience he can at all points in time for the community. So Duke of New York, number 1, for this one is Flake to me. Coming in a close second is just the Realm crew. Again, it's no secret that the Realm and this show are closely linked, whether they like it or not. I'm going to say not. And that crew, like, includes the 3 floating crew and everything else. They do a tremendous amount for this community in making sure they're putting on the best events, and they put on events that are catered towards the players. They're not catered towards how can we make the most money possible and make the best income extraction machine that we can, which is kind of the hallmark of not every other, but most event runners and event organizers and tournament organizers. And they say, if we create the best player experience, the players will come. And they continue to do it. They continue to be best in class. And to me, that they belong right in the conversation as well. Derek?
So I have a long answer because it just says favorite community members. So I didn't feel like I had to keep it short. My initial thought was like, okay, it's the obvious stuff, right? It's Flake because like Flake is basically like a brother to me. I love him. Just even if he wasn't a public member of the community, Flake would just be still in my list of people that I love who play the game. I just adore him. You, obviously, because I do this with you. So hello, like,
hi,
low hanging fruit, but there. You mentioned the realm. I was just going to say what I describe as like the big three of the LGSs in general, just because of their support for the community. It's very hard to have favorite community members without cool events being ran. And so to me, that's the realm, that's Min-Max, and it's Green Tree. Those are the ones that just continue to kill it whenever they do events. So shout outs to them. And I glad you mentioned the three floating folks, because they are just like so much fun to be around every time I'm around them. But with all of those, and then like all of the cosplayers, like I love Elaine, and just like there's a big long list. It's hard to not just want to name everybody. So when I was thinking about how I wanted to answer this, I was instead wanting to give what I would describe as like a more personal answer. So when I think of like some of my favorite moments from this year, it is shout out to Ben, who's in our Discord, but also plays locally. I don't get to go to nearly as many local events as I want, but anytime I do, I always have a good time talking with Ben. We're Bravo buddies, but also I loved seeing what he did with Max. And he just is, that nice, like reassuring, friendly face. So like shout out to Ben. I don't think that he listens, but Ken is also there. I like to hang out with him and Chris and some of the other local crews. But then that leads to the second part of this answer, which is partially local, not true local, but still a Michigander. Some of the most fun I had with Flesh and Blood this year was at Worlds, and not playing the game, but just with people from the community. So for me, it's Clark, it's Steven and his wife Destiny. The nights that I got to hang out with them, with my wife Sophie in Barcelona, was just a lot of fun. Destiny hanging out with my wife and going and getting pedicures and whatever, and then sending us photos while like Steven and I were at the World's venue playing games. I still crack up when I think about that. Clark wandering around like downtown Barcelona, Gothic Quarter in the middle of the night with us. I'm still trying to work Sophie, but I know Clark is looking at going to Amsterdam, and I'm like seriously considering trying to figure out how I can attend that because of the fun that I had with Steven, with Clark, with Destiny. So for me, it's like special shout out to them, because I had a really good time and a really unique experience that will stay with me like long after the game.
Yeah, I mean, and you bring up a good point. It's so easy to just start listing everybody. It truly
really
is.
Like,
it's the community at large for this game has been unreal awesome. To my first sit down in Indianapolis with Tommy Fresh, and just chatted up and learning, about his, he wants to do for content, but then also about Tommy, one of my favorite people, and love that dude. Love what he does. Think he's great. You can, and then even my locals, we have Dagan, who gets a lot of run in this show. I don't know why we keep talking about that asshole, but we do. And then you get people, locally for me, like we have Zach, who is the manager of our game castle here, and also just a pillar of our community. Taylor and Dom and Trevor, and there's just so many names that can just go on forever, right? But one that I think that we need to make sure we call out, because we would be remiss not to in all of this, is Alex Norville. Alex has done so much for the profile of this game in the short time that he's been with LSS. And I don't think that Flesh and Blood's growth and footprint is where it is right now without Alex. So anytime that you see really cool animations show up, one, it's Aiden Kwasnowski from 3 Floating. And it's, but like the documentaries and the production values and all that stuff is just Alex is the start of that. And then the staff that is there right now is so incredible at putting all that together. And then one more shout out to Josh Scott. Dude is working his ass off to make sure that the rules make sense. And I know they're not necessarily community members at that point, but it's the last show of 2023. I feel like we need to make sure that they know that what they do is noticed, and is important. Same thing with Mansant and Savage Feats, as well as Philip with February. What you guys do does not go unnoticed. We see it, we love it, and it is appreciated to levels that are just hard to quantify. So thank you. All right. Only an hour and 35 minutes. That wasn't so bad.
Yeah, it was a short episode.
Yeah, no shit. We got to really work on that episode time.
Yeah.
But we're not done yet because we have to thank patrons. It's very important that we thank the patrons. So let's do that right now. Our associate producers are Alex, Andy, C-Dubs, Cindra, Donnie K, Kenny, and the Salty Sea Cat. Our executive producers on Up are Blaze Storm, Dom. Now, this is the last one of 2024. Or 2023. 2023, sorry.
Whoa. You know about a meteor I don't know about?
Last one of 2023. We got to make sure we get it right. You got to make sure that it has everything that I can put into it, and then you can follow with your own. But, okay. I think I got this. Lance Good Thrust. There it is. Would you like to add your own?
Lance Good Thrust.
Sometimes
that's my favorite moment from 2023 was Logan learning what ASMR is.
Oh my God. I think that was this year. Holy shit. The legend Matt Tutokes, valued member of the Patreon, pox on us. Papo Mike, Philip, Rich, Taylor, and Trevor. If you are interested in becoming a member of the Patreon and attending the FAP After Darks and things of that nature, you can go to patreon.com/fleshandpod. Link is in the show notes. There are some number of tiers. You can just join them. Any paid tier gets you into the FAP After Darks, which are live shows that we do once a month-ish with Bryn from the Banish Zone, as well as most of the time, producer extraordinaire Greg Greiner, who doesn't produce this show, but still, and Charmer when he sees fit. Sometimes he does it from bed with his wife, which is fascinating. If you need to contact the show, it's the same as it has been for the other 107 fucking weeks. You can send us an email at fleshandpod@gmail.com. You can find us on Twitter at fleshpod. Links are in the show notes, but the best thing you can do, you can join the Discord, which anybody can. It is open. You don't have to be a member of the Patreon. You can just come into the Discord. And again, links in the show notes. Come hang out, be part of the absolute degeneracy that happens in there sometimes. It is really awkward at times too. Like Elaine showing off her pickle hoodie. Like that's a lot. I don't know. Any rate, but yes, that link is in the show notes. So please come on in, hang out. Charmer, where can they find you?
On a boat.
Yeah, getting nautical.
No, in the Discord's the best place to find me. Obviously I'm on Twitter and YouTube and Twitch and Blue Sky and a bunch of other places, but just join the Flesh and Pod Discord. Like, what's stopping you? Do the thing. Do the fucking thing. If you need to find me personally, the best place is in the Discord. Weird. DMs are open to anybody I share a server with. Please hop in. Would love to have you. But that's all I got for 2023, sir. We're putting a bow on this year. I guess potentially true. Do I want it? Yes. No, it's just true, right? I didn't know if we were going to record on New Year's Eve or not. No. I would probably, well, I mean, I don't know what I have going on, and we hadn't talked about it, so I don't know.
I don't know. Okay,
maybe not.
Maybe not. Who knows? Well, it'll be the last time you hear us.
Yeah, the people won't hear from us this year.
Right. So. Right. But thank you all from the bottom of my withered black heart for listening and supporting us. And you know what? I guess I'll be the lame motherfucker in this and say, we'll talk to y'all next year. For fuck's sake. Bye.